Welcome back. Welcome back. We're doing another part 4 of this MPC main screen explain tutorial right here. Definitely check out my links, DeLeoT2K, or email me at DeLeoT2KFeedback@gmail.com. Show some love at DeLeoT2K.com. All right, we're going to dive right into it. Let's get into it. So in this video right here in Producer School, we're going to talk about the track section. We already talked about the sequence section up here and everything else so far, and we got the bottom section right there, but that kind of coincides with what this is. Okay. So right there is your track name. So if it's unused, if it says it's unused, meaning that means there's no sequence data on there, there's no automation, it's a clean track, it's like a blank tape or a blank track on the tape recorder, for those who understand that metaphor. It's blank, and you can change the name of it by hitting the icon, edit track name right there, and that's going to edit the name right there. Okay, so that's what the track is right there. You get 128 tracks per sequence. So 128 sequences and 128 tracks per sequence. If you need to use all those, they are there. All right, so in this section right here, highlighted in yellow, this represents the different programs that you have. You got the program section, you got the program section, you got the drum program, plugin program, key group program, clip program, MIDI program, and CV program. Each track you create within a sequence is routed through a program, and there are 6 types of programs, each of which determines how the track sounds or what it is used for. And like I said before, each track can have up to 128. Well, actually, each project can be up to 128 programs. So if you want to see all the tracks, just double tap in that track area, and that way you'll be able to see it all right there. So right here we got in this icon highlight, this is the drum program. And the drum program uses one or more samples as its source. It contains a list of samples and the settings for each sample, pad assignments, loop points, pitch tuning, effects, and etc. Drum programs are used mostly for creating drum parts quickly and easily assigning samples to pads. So this is the meat and potatoes of any MPC. And I'll say this is the meat and potatoes of any machine. Each one of them, they call it different, but since we're dealing with the Akai MPC, this is a drum program. You can assign up to 128 samples per drum program. Now let me correct that, because if the math serves me correctly, you can have 4 samples on each pad of a drum program. Somebody in the comments let me know what the math is on that for the total number of combinations of sounds you can have if you have 128 pads with 4 samples each pad. So that's 128 times 4. Right here in this icon, this is the plugin program. You know, a plugin contains an instance of a plugin that you load, through which you can send your tracks MIDI data. Okay, so if you got Contact or Omnisphere or any Nexus, you know, any VST2 64-bit plugin. Now, I don't know how it is on the Mac side, but I do know on the PC side that the MPC software, as of this time, is not compatible with VST3 plugins, which is a drag, because I have some VST3 plugins that want to sequence in MPC, but I can't because the software is not yet compatible with it. So once again, if you want to add plugins via hardware or software, you can do that inside of that plugin right there. Okay. Up next is the key group program. This is good for piano sounds, strings, musical instruments. You can change the pitch of a samples very easily with a key group. Don't sleep on this. It's a very powerful thing. It does have its limitations, but for what it does very well. I use it a lot for my custom sounds that I make. It's very good. When you do auto sampling on the MPC, it'll turn it into a key group. A key group program uses one or more samples as its source. It contains a list of samples and the settings for each sample, plug-in tunings, effects, and things like that. Key group programs are used to play samples chromatically with the MPC, with a MIDI keyboard or the MPC pads, or in the case of the MPC Key 61, either or. Okay. This is more used for the more musical side of things, but you are not limited to that. If you want to trigger some things differently with a keyboard instead of the pads, this is a good way to go. But you can also trigger drum programs by your MIDI keyboard, depending on how you have it set up. Clip program. This is kind of like on the Ableton side where you're launching clips and stopping clips. Um, a program can use several samples that can be looped. Each clip can be assigned to a pad, which you can press the trigger the clip according to a quantization setting. This lets you create intriguing, layered performances by launching different combinations of clips together. I personally don't really use this that much, but if I ever wanted to get more of an Ableton, let me just grab some loops from Splice or something, or from DelioT2K.com, of course. You can combine them together. And I think this is probably good for like a live setting when you need to trigger loops very fast and cut them very fast. You got the MIDI program. This is very important when you want to connect hardware to your MPC via standalone or controller mode. You can hook up a Behringer Model D or a Juno X or a DeepMind 12 or TR-08 or a Sub-Fatty or Integra setting. This is where the MIDI, this is how they used to do it before we had plugins. And that MIDI jack right there represents the MIDI outputs that are ins and outs on the back of your MPC. So when you want to talk to hardware and sequence that together with your software or controller mode, standalone mode, this is the mode right here. CV, control voltage. A CV program lets you send your MIDI tracks, MIDI data, to an external MIDI device that uses control voltage, like a synth, Eurorack stuff. So on the MPC Key 61, there are CV gate outputs. I don't think there are CV gate outputs on the MPC X. I know on the MPC 1 there are some, and I think maybe on the Live 2 there are some. It's been a while since I've been really kind of burying my head in what case does what. But if you come from the modular world or use gear that uses CV control voltages, this is a great place to go. So, and case in point, like I have the TR-08 and it takes a control voltage in for a trigger, right? So you can take that, put that in there, and control it or send pulses to it, to the TR-08. That's just one way you can do it. Length. This changes the sequence length. So, and it goes by beats. So if you got 4 bars up there in the top right here, you got 4 bars in the top right there, you can change it to 1 bar right there. And this track will cycle only 1 bar over and over again while your sequence is doing its whole section right there. So I typically don't mess with this. And when it says sequence, it's going to match what this sequence is right here. But if you change that to a bar, 2 bars, it's doing its own thing separate. This is kind of goes into the polyrhythm world right there. Okay. Transpose, you can change the key of your track, like your key group or your plugin, transpose that up or down. I don't think that really works on drum programs because, if you change the key, the MIDI data, and you go up a key or transpose, you're going to ruin all your MIDI data, and you're going to have a hi-hat trigger and a kick drum and snare drum. It's going to be a mess. So I typically use this mainly for musical stuff, but it kind of bites you down the line when you're doing song creation. Yeah. So over here we have automation modes. This is record arm. Record arm enables you to record what you're doing as the sequencer is recording you, as the MPC is recording what you're doing. If that's lit up red, it's hot. And what you're going to do is go to that track. Now, you can do multiple things and have multiple things record at the same time, MIDI-wise. Also, you can do the same thing on the audio side. So off. Let's see what these settings are. Because this right here, you see auto right here, but there's actually multiple modes you can have on here. We just see it as auto right now. So off. The track's MIDI input is not monitored, and playback of recorded events will be heard. This setting is useful when using keyboards with local control active. Okay, so you typically will not hear what's going in, but what's on tape will be heard, or what's recorded will be heard. In. The track's MIDI input is always monitored, regardless of the track's record arm state, and playback from the record. And playback from recorded events will not be heard. So you will only hear what's going into it, but you won't hear it play back. There's probably a scenario where that would make sense. I can't think of one right now. Auto. This is what I use all the time because I can hear everything I'm doing going to that track. No matter what, I'm going to hear the playback going on at the same time. Um, and that makes me think about in. So I could see that if you only want to hear what you're playing and you're playing on top of something on the track, but you only want to hear what you're putting into the track, I could see that. Merge. The track's MIDI input is always monitored and playback of recorded events will be heard. Not sure if I really understand the difference between the two of merge and auto that I can think of. But yeah, that is part 4 right there. Please show me some love. This is a free class I'm putting out there on the YouTube platform. Please show my link some love. Just come through and check them out. Say hello. Check out the music. And definitely your feedback is greatly appreciated. That inspires me to do more of this. So I really need your feedback. I need those likes. I need those comments. And if you like this type of content, you just like what I do on this channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button and come through and then go from like that. So if you guys give me some feedback, we'll go ahead and move on to part 5. I just want to hear from you. All right. I'm out. I'm Dilio. Y'all take care.